Welcome to the Regulating AI podcast, where we bring global, diverse leaders to talk to us. How can we frame fair, responsible AI governance and regulatory frameworks? And today, I'm thrilled to have with us Elena Sinel with us. She's a social leader, a founder of Teens in AI. So, welcome, Elena. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Sanjay.
Awesome.
Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Elena, tell our listeners, we have a global audience. What is Teens in AI and how did you come about to starting something like this?
So, as a founder of Teens in AI, obviously everyone's journey is different. I founded it back in 2018 at the UN AI for Good Global Summit, but the journey goes back to 2014, so it's like 10 years ago now, when I walked into a conversation between my daughter and her teacher, and the teacher told my daughter, "Hey, computer science is for boys; it's boring. Why don't you take sociology?" And I was just listening to this conversation and was just getting a bit frustrated, maybe a little bit angry. And I thought, oh, why is she saying this to my daughter? Putting these limiting beliefs. And I always told my daughter she can be anything she wants to be and set her mind. And my daughter wanted to do computer science. She was told, hey, it's boring. And I thought, okay, I'm going to take you somewhere where you will see how creative, exciting, and amazing tech can be. And I started taking my daughter to adult hackathons in London. One of the ones that was taking place, I think it was like November 2014, was Product Hunt Hackathon. And I thought, wow, this would be an amazing experience for her. So at the age of 12, 13, she came to this hackathon, had no idea what would happen, had no idea what a hackathon was. But at the end of this experience, she was in the runners-up winning sort of team. So I was in the winning team. She was in the runners-up. She was like, oh, Mommy, next time I will come and I will be the winner. So she kind of developed that competitive spirit, but at the same time, she learned how to ask questions, how to pitch her project to an audience. And I thought, what an amazing experience. I want this to be an experience for every child around the world. So that's how I started the very first hackathon back in 2015 in the Rebecca Brooks offices in London Bridge and used international offices. So she opened the doors and she kind of was welcoming and said, run your hackathon here. So it was my first one. A lot of teenagers came from ordinary schools in London, and that kind of kicked it off. I thought I would never do this again because I don't know whether you've ever organized a big hackathon. It's like doing a conference like this. Yeah. But it was amazing, and I just got hooked just seeing that curiosity, that spark in young people's minds. And it just meant so much to me that other young people are experiencing this and learning how to build something responsibly for the world to better the world in one way or another. So that's how it all started. And now it's 10 years. And we've already impacted 15,000 young people around the world. I think we have kids in more than 60 countries around the world participating in these programs. We're on some of our biggest campaigns around March. And they inspire a lot of girls into AI. So that's something I'm really passionate about. And that's where we are. We work with some of the biggest companies around the world. And it's exciting to see that some companies are resonate with our mission and are willing to support to ensure that hopefully in the 5-10 years, we'll have a better talent pool, a more diverse talent pool to hire from. So that's the mission.
Wow. What a amazing story and a message. And there's some follow-on points I want to ask you. So our podcast is regulating AI. What do lawmakers, policymakers need to know when they're keeping teens in mind when they're focusing on regulation? Because nobody's thinking, we're thinking, okay, business people, AI experts, all those things. But you have trained 15,000 teens. You kind of know the pulse. Having a teen daughter yourself, a lot of people do, but you interacted. What should regulators know?
Safety. I think it has to be safety by design, and it has to be safety with young people in mind. So when Snapchat just released an AI chatbot, I remember the next day I was on the BBC interview because I just couldn't believe that a company was just allowed to release a tool, a chatbot, and making it accessible to so many teenagers around the world, where they're collecting children's data without their necessarily knowing that they are kind of inputting all this data without their consent, and putting some of them at risk. So for me, as safeguarding and that consent, privacy are really, really important. So I definitely wouldn't like to see companies just coming up with a lot of innovation at potentially at the detriment of people. And for me, it's everyone really. Of course, it's young people as well. So let's say one of the latest case studies I've just heard about, which again kind of shocked me a little bit, was in Australia, where a child protection agency had input some data of children who are at risk. So these are the children who should not be in media, who you can't take photos of, but that person put sensitive data into a ChatGPT or some other bot. And of course, the data is already within the system, something that should never have happened in the first place. And that person sadly got fired because obviously they were not aware. Maybe the training wasn't available and they were not aware of what the risks could be. But to me, any technology out there that is innovating, that is about to get released, the first thing that we need to see as consumers is that it is safe for use. It is not going to put anyone at risk, let alone children. So we need some strong regulation, and it doesn't have to come at the expense of innovation. Of course, being in the UK, we have a very light touch regulation when it comes to AI systems, which is something I'm a little bit against, because we have a lot of companies who are innovating within education that are selling and pitching their products to teachers and head teachers. And a lot of the teachers and educators are not aware of what these systems can or can't do. They're collecting data. How are they collecting data? What have they been trained on? What kind of data sets have they been trained on? You probably remember the A-level algorithm in the UK. What happened? It wasn't even an AI system. It was a statistical algorithm. And what happened was it predicted certain grades based on the historical, data sets. So my daughter, unfortunately, went to a normal school and was one of those kids who had a predicted level D in philosophy, which was her favorite subject. So she was crying. She had to take a gap year because she couldn't get into university. And it wasn't only my daughter. There were 300,000 young people in the UK whose grades were impacted. This is how bad it can be, and it can affect a lot of lives. Imagine the toll on the mental health of those young people being told by some AI system or an algorithm that, hey, you're not good enough. Your grade is this, when it should have been something else. But the algorithm predicted the grade based on the historical outcomes of that school. And if your child, like my daughter, went to a normal school, a state school, where historically people, kids were not getting very high grades in philosophy. So she was punished for the historical data in that school, whereas private school kids, got much better results and whatnot. So that is kind of unfair. So we want to make sure that whatever is built with safety in mind, with fairness in mind, does not infringe on human rights, and something that everyone can use. But of course, it also needs to include the voices, diverse voices. And this is the mission that I'm advocating and pioneering and championing, not only in the UK, in other parts of the world, that we need to build those systems with diverse teams, so that when something stupid happens, somebody can call out. Like when Microsoft Copilot design software was used, you could just put car accident and there would be, images of objectifying women that would pop on your screen. Why is that necessary? Why did it happen in the first place? So there are a lot of questions we're asking as an industry, whether we're working with kids, we're working with policy, government. My work is very much at the intersection of education, policy, governance, and regulation, because I really want to see stricter regulations and almost like a stamp of approval. This is safe to use. And until this has been proven to me that it's safe to use, I don't want it out. So if I could wish away OpenAI and ChatGPT today, I would, but I can't. That's why we're a bit late with regulation.
So you put a lot of things out there. I've got a zillion questions for you, but I'll try to distill it because we don't have eternity. We might need to get you back for a longer session because education is something of a deep interest to me. So we'll try hitting these fast because you have a session to go to.
I know.
and this relates to your daughter. So I'm going to just rattle up some questions, then you talk about one of the big benefits of AI. And I've talked to a lot of chancellors of big universities who come on our show
Yeah.
and education experts is the promise of personalized education. Your child is different than somebody else's
Yeah.
child, than somebody else's
Yeah.
child. Why should they be taught the same things? It's like, your daughter might be
Yeah.
better in one subject
Yeah.
versus another. So that's the big potential that
Yeah.
exists. So I want a little bit of the feedback, but I'm going to rattle off a few other questions before I forget.
Yeah.
You talked about the potential for the deep fakes for especially young young people, young women, that is really becoming a big issue because the scale and
Yeah.
speed at which AI can produce these videos is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It would take before it could
Yeah.
take you hours and hours and a lot of expertise. Now you just need to be a average
A good prompt engineer.
average prompt engineer because the
Yeah.
tools also
It's
now
also
help
that.
you produce those prompts too.
Yes.
So uh, there's a lot of I'm based in the US. There's a lot of effort there in terms of coming up with legislation because
Yeah.
this kind of also relates to cyber bullying and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
The final question I have is that you talk about equity
Mm.
in terms of making sure that all kinds of people get access to those tools. When you
Yeah.
talk about, want to understand how will we make sure even in teens that uh, women,
Mhm.
minorities and others are also brought into that process. I've thrown three things at you, but if we can get some three important things, we can get some brief answers from you. That would be awesome for our audience.
Oh, 100%. So we are right now standing at 58 to 60% of women who are participating in our programs across the world.
Okay.
And we have kids in more than 60 countries around the world who participate, whether it's online, learning on using online systems and learning online through courses. So we have courses related to cybersecurity. We have courses related to AI ethics. We're releasing courses in AI and robotics, but everything is aimed at teenagers aged 12 to 18. And of course, where we are really, really trying to push is for diversity, so that we have kids in Africa not having any difficulties accessing our courses and our programs. Right now, obviously 10 years ago, I was personally organizing programs. Right now, we're training teachers how to host our program in their school. We worked with the government of Brunei, where we trained teachers how to host innovation sprints. And they run hackathons sometimes 3-4 times a year.
Oh.
And every hackathon starts with a problem, with a real challenge related to climate, to sustainability, to women's rights, to whatnot, and ends with them presenting their solutions. So it's a long-term project. So it's not something that will happen overnight, but if you invest into young people, wherever they may be, and we're talking, disrupting education at government level, not just teachers, individuals joining the programs, but our aim is to really bring in governments of Africa and Asia and Europe and Middle East and Central Asia to really understand that there is a place for all of us in tech. And of course, as much as possible, for instance, we're running a program in Madrid in partnership with Beiersdorf, which is a German skincare company, but they do have budgets to support D&I initiatives. And so in Madrid, we're working with Red Cross, who are giving this opportunity to children from domestic violence situations, children who would not normally have the opportunity to learn about AI and how this could be impacting their lives. And, the conversations are all about domestic violence. And it's incredible. It's almost like a cathartic experience for kids who are experiencing issues in their families to come to a program like this and know there is a technology that can probably help them tackle some of the issues, whether it's them experiencing a situation of abuse in the family and being able to reach to their friends or police or something instantly at the touch of a button, knowing, letting somebody know that they are in danger or whatnot, or having that support around mental health or whatnot. But kids do have a lot of opinions. They are interested in many different issues, including policy. And of course, as much as possible, we're reaching out diverse communities that are underrepresented in tech. So these are your Black communities, Latinx communities, communities all over the world. And even when I go to Brunei, and when I'm told, oh, Elena, in Brunei you won't find any diversity, they're all really rich kids, rich families, I always go, well, challenge me. I will always find communities that are underrepresented in tech in that specific area, and of course I always do. So, but it's an ongoing work, and it's a long-term project, and it's not going to happen overnight. Yeah.
Uh, you didn't answer two of my other questions, but
Yeah.
if you can just give me a brief answer, very brief, and I kind of personalize education. Plus, I talked to some European members of parliament who framed the EU AI Act, and they're saying our curriculum needs to change. Like we were teaching
100%.
math and science early on to our kids. AI needs to be, digital skills need to be part of that.
Well,
So,
I have an
brief
opinion
answer on
Yeah,
that.
very quickly then. To me, AI is not a domain of computer science at all. It's a domain of everything. So I would like AI to be seen integrated with various other subjects. I personally see this as a subject that adds value to geography, physics, chemistry. I mean, look at Demis Hassabis, who's just got Nobel Prize for chemistry, not AI, chemistry.
Chemistry.
And that is because there is a lot of potential with AI to impact and add
Material
value to so many
sciences, etc.
interdisciplinary. So it's very multidisciplinary and it adds value. So for me, it definitely has to change the curriculum to become more applied. So let's say it's applied maths, and that's where AI can add values. Because for me, AI, obviously, the foundation is always maths and physics, right? So, but how can we make maths more exciting? That's a big challenge here in the UK, for instance, that we don't have enough students taking up maths and further maths. A lot of girls in particular drop maths and computer science. We only have 1 in 4 girls in the UK learning STEM subjects. But if we can show that AI has the potential to tackle big problems like climate, you will have a lot of girls wanting to be in it. So we have to show AI as an applied subject. It applies to a lot of different subjects. And this is how we can innovate the curriculum and make it a lot more exciting. So within our programs, we teach design thinking, we teach our approach is very problem-based. So project-based learning is very at the forefront. We're not just going to sit and teach you Python. We're going to teach you applied Python. It's applied AI. It's applied design thinking. It's human-centered design. Let's work with people. Let's understand what they need.
Fashion, design,
everything.
everything.
So that's how you innovate curriculum. And on the topic of personalized learning, I'm highly obviously a big fan of personalized learning. However, I'm not sure whether at this stage, the technologies that are offering this as a service, as a solution, are there yet. So I'm concerned about how they're training their data set. I'm concerned about how they collect this data, the data, what kind of data they're collecting when it comes to personalized learning, how long they retain this data. And then what happens if somebody hacks into that data, cybersecurity. I mean, this happens all the time, and they are large language model systems, small model systems, they're all at risk of being hacked. So how do we make sure that if something like this happens, that children's data is not just out there potentially putting a lot of kids at risk? So this is kind of what I would be concerned about in the back of my mind if I were an educator, whether it's at university or a head teacher in a school, listening to that pitch from a big tech company saying, hey, we've got personalized learning for you guys. And they're like, yeah, tell me more. What are the questions should we be asking? And don't just kind of buy into every technology that walks into your door and say, yes, we've got all the solutions you have in this, to all the challenges you have in the school. But I want to know how this was built. Was it built ethically? How did you label data? How did you train your model? Was it labeled in Africa where you paid, $1 per hour? So I kind of want to see responsible technology, responsible business. And that is what I want to invest into. I don't want to just invest into anything. And it has to be safe. Prove it to me. It is safe. Then I'll look into this.
Has to be safe. Prove it to me. And then you will do it.
Yeah.
Final thing, just briefly. I understand safe and others. There are places, especially in the global south, there are no teachers and things like that.
Yeah.
How about the use of AI? I understand safety and stuff, but generations get left behind because there is a shortage of qualified, well, in some cases, no teachers, in some cases, qualified teachers. Doesn't AI bring more equity in terms of education? What do you say about that?
I have kind of on the spectrum, it can. Definitely. If, for instance, at Teens and AI, we have courses aimed at students, not at teachers. We're not training teachers with our courses. We're training students.
Students.
So what a teacher can do, she can just make our courses available to the students because they're aimed at teenagers, they're aimed at students aged 12 to 18. So if the government comes and talks to me, says, Elena, we have seen your courses. They're amazing. They're built with industry, not anyone else, but we actually have industry developing the courses that the industry needs. That's amazing. Our teachers can spend an hour every day in computer science sharing, facilitating that course. So a teacher's role is a facilitator. I don't need a teacher to be an AI ethicist to teach AI ethics. I don't need her to be a machine learning engineer to teach machine learning to the kids. I just need her to show the course and say, hey, today let's log into Teens and AI. Let's learn about how to do image processing. Next class, signal processing. Next class, cybersecurity. Next class, let's learn about AI and robotics. But she does not need to be a roboticist. So the role of the teacher in some of the parts of Africa or Asia, or in the UK, we have a shortage of computer science teachers, so I don't need to go far. But a teacher's role is that of a facilitator. When it comes to cutting edge technology, we are too late. We can't train teachers. We're training teachers today in Python. Tomorrow is going to be another language. Tomorrow is going to be another model. So we will never be able to train a teacher to teach AI skills in a school because something else will happen. So we can't keep up. The best way is to create short, bite-sized learning experiences, learning material for kids, where a teacher can just facilitate and make it available to the kids. That is what we are doing. So we already have about 7 courses online. We've just released Understanding Cybersecurity on Monday, and we've already had more than 200 enrollments in the space of a few days. Just from kids learning about it, parents wanting their kids to know more about cybersecurity before they even finish school, because this is such an important subject. We explore AI intersections with various other subjects. We bring, subjects like climate action, cancer research to life for kids to understand there is potential for AI to make an impact. But of course, it comes with risks. What are the risks? So we have modules on AI ethics with every single course. So we're not just teaching AI without the, showcasing some of the risks and implications. It has to come, at the same time. So any government, any teacher landing on our website, they will know, okay, this is not for me, this is for my students, which is amazing because I'm scared of the subject myself. I don't know how to teach it, but hey, you don't need to teach it. Just come to Teens and AI and make these courses available. Many of them are free as well. Some of our beginner courses are completely free. Understanding AI, understanding cybersecurity. We even have a course by Quantum Black McKinsey developed for us in Python. Just go and learn. You don't need to be that Pythonista to be able to learn Python in your class. So it's all,
Wow.
That's what we're taking care of.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Thank
Finally,
you.
just quick lightning round question. Just a couple of them, just to put you, well, I won't say put you on the spot, just get your views.
Fine. I'm used to that. Go for it.
Of course. Innovation or regulation?
Regulation.
Regulation. Okay.
Yeah.
Teacher co-pilots or human teachers?
Teacher
Well,
teacher
I'm talking
co-pilot
about AI co-pilots teaching or human teachers?
The moment it's human teachers, but let's pick up on this in 5 years. Maybe a co-pilot will be better. And they can then work together. I do see the potential for teachers using AI systems in school. As long as it is safe to use, I don't mind. But if a student puts in car accident, a few months ago, they would have gotten a naked woman sitting in front of the car, which is crashed. That's a car accident according to Microsoft Copilot. I don't want this to happen. I don't want my child who's 11 to put in car accident into Copilot and see that. So until they've sorted out, please don't bring this into education. That's my answer.
Future of AI in education, scary or awesome?
Oh, it depends.
No.
Depends.
Now that you're sounding like a politician or a lawyer. A lawyer.
This depends where you take it. It can be scary because obviously, there is a lot of impact on the climate, a footprint that we cannot even imagine. the kind of carbon footprint that these large language model systems will have on the climate. So this is kind of scary because we might just not get there eventually because of the impact it's having on climate. There is a lot of research. Definitely that kind of puts me on the fence a little bit because we're kind of super hyped up, excited. To me, this is still a big hype. I definitely want every single corporate out there that is building AI systems for innovation or not, to look into the carbon footprint. How are they building this? What kind of resources that are needed to keep those machine learning systems alive? How much water, electricity, and whatnot? I mean, if there is an AI system that can predict the next hurricane, like the one happening right now in Florida, and evacuate people on time, that to me is innovation. So it depends on how you define innovation as well. So for me, innovation is not having autonomous cars. Let's not talk about that. Show me a real problem that can impact the world. Like, how could we have prevented, a lot of people being stuck in Florida when they shouldn't be and are being affected right now? A lot of kids, a lot of families are affected by that incredible tornado hurricane that's coming. So for me, those kind of problems that are still out there, and there are some bigger problems. We have women's rights, diversity. We have indigenous groups whose rights are being violated. We have wars happening. So how can we prevent those, help those, tackle it? So if an AI system can magic this away, amazing. But for me, we're focusing on the wrong problems. We're focusing on profit. We're focusing on that profit margin, which is a wrong focus for me to have. So I'm a social impact entrepreneur. I want real problems to be solved, not how Microsoft can save and make more money as a result of that AI system that I'm building. That's not the issue. I'm not one of those capitalists who is just out there wanting to gain profit as a result of an AI system. I want AI to be used for something positive, not to be at risk, be built with diverse teams, be safe, transparent, account for privacy, and really be there for the people and not to the detriment of the human world and societies. That's what I'm going to leave you with.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elena. This has been amazing. We need to get you back because there were only 63 other questions I had for you. I didn't get to, but you have other places to go.
Yes.
But I'm sure our audience found it's very refreshing for someone who is really doing something, because education is very, very critical. And we are all pushing, as you can see in this conference and others, amazing tools and technologies. But it's this generation that's going to define what happens, whether it's in climate change, in agriculture, and other things. So thanks for taking the time, for being on the Regulating AI podcast. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.